for presenting their bio and their aspirations as a trustee member. And I welcome all of you to ask our candidates some questions.
Is it possible to move the...
Oh yeah, we can move the, yeah. Does that help?
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, great. So, questions, please. Yes.
Hi, good evening, and good luck to all of you. For my first question, because I have more than one, but I'll just ask one and give everybody a chance for now. I do see, okay, I'll give you the easy one first. How many library meetings have you personally attended before becoming a trustee, or because one of the trustees is up here, but how many library meetings have you personally attended, period, or before you became a trustee?
I guess I can take that to start, if I may, or would you want to? I think you were very clear in outlining the track record there. Trustee Bryant.
I have my share, she's speaking.
To the gentleman, if I could just first ask, this may be the trickiest question of your Lydia question, but just wanted to ask you, by meeting, are you referring to board meeting? I just was wondering if you could qualify your definition a little bit.
I'm referring to physically being present in any public meeting where the library trustees meet.
In my particular case, I've been to the library as a visitor, first and foremost, and a patron, a consumer, if you will, along with my family, and also having attended a number of community meetings through the years, because, quite frankly, as I indicated to my worthy opponents at either side, that I have not attended a public library board meeting, because I, quite frankly, am involved actively, have been involved actively as a 12-year member and resident in Westchester County Crime Stoppers, as well as the Westchester County Homeowners Coalition. I'm a firm believer in blooming where you're planted and getting the job done. But what I've realized over the years, especially last year, which drew a lot of positive attention, I think, to the library, that I wanted to take on a more formal role and sort of take a back step to some of the other community endeavors that I've been working on for the years. So I'm not here to sit down and tell you, oh, I've been to X, Y, or Z meeting, because that would be disingenuous. I haven't been to a library board meeting because, again, my context, as I come to you this evening, is purely in the form of being a patron, a visitor, a consumer of this library, and being very proud to be a member and resident who travels to my local library and doesn't feel as though I have to outsource and go to all these other communities, because we have a gem right here in the library. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Great. And I'll pass the baton on to either one of my...
I can't even count. I only count in terms of years, not in terms of actual meetings. So yes, over 5 years, heading towards 6 years of meetings.
552 maybe?
Unacceptable.
Well, I mean, you've got the regular ones and the special ones, and so, you know, 5.5 years of meetings, whatever that translates to. The advantage of that is that if I were to be elected, I was at the meeting last night. Linda and I, we were at the meeting last night. We know what's going on with the budget vote. We know what's going on and what has been going on with the library. So hitting the ground running in terms of knowing what they're working on and what we need to do in the immediate future and a little further out, I already know that because I've been following along all this time. So that does have some advantages.
Being my first year as a trustee, our first meeting was right after we were sworn in that evening. And it continued on the following week and every other notice and every month after that. If we went from one scheduled meeting, then there were meetings before or after the scheduled meeting, and some every week. So within a year to date, I can say I have attended maybe 40 meetings, okay? In full attendance, from 6:30 to maybe 9:30 or 10 o'clock, depending on the day, the date, the reason, the purpose, the discussion, dialogue that we had to have in order to formulate some kind of resolution, vote on a resolution, come to an agreement. Even if we disagree, we still had to have to form that agreement. So this was moving forward. So as far as moving forward, that's what I said, an opinion, if you have one, you give it. As they say, we have to agree with everybody with our opinion. But the thing is to voice it in order so other concerns that you might have heard or giving or your own personal concerns are actually expressed during this meeting. So I've been quite fortunate within a year to have a concentration of these meetings and learned a lot. Not as much as it sounds. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I have several.
Yes.
Good evening, I'm Rebecca Steer, I'm one of the librarians here at the library. Hi, Tamara, you already anticipated one of the questions I was going to ask, so I'll address it to the other two candidates. Do you have ideas for fundraising for the library, and in the future, how might you raise funds so we can have more programming, which is one of the things that we would really like to do at the library?
Oh, thank you. I thought you were Well, Rebecca, thank you for posing that very timely question, very, very valid question at that. A couple of ideas that come to mind to me are really, I guess, a reflection of what the director I mentioned earlier this evening, and this has been whipsawing through my brain as well. She had mentioned the $1,000 donation from Staples. I think, well, that's great. To my way of thinking, it's still transactional. If we could perhaps capitalize on that one particular transaction and develop and strengthen a true partnership in the sense that Staples could serve as, let's say, the forerunner in a very vigorous, very spirited corporate fundraising development campaign. So that's one idea that just seems to be more obvious, at least to my way of thinking. But having to work the connections, the contacts locally, and coming up with a more formalized plan. But secondly, I think would really necessitate reaching out to the local community, not necessarily big corporate America so much as really working more closely, I think, with the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce and getting local businesses involved in the sense, we're not asking for mere membership fees or a tithing of sorts, but to have them realize that they have some skin in the game here too. The library is not an individual or self-serving institution. It's by, for, and of the entire community of Mount Vernon. And with a library that flourishes like this one, and I hope that it will continue to flourish even more strongly, or more so, that we have to reinvest in our intellectual capital, and that is our children, as well as our young adults as well, who have not even entered the workforce. I think if we can perhaps capitalize more on some training programs and solicit and enlist the support of the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce and other business associations, for example, the Westchester Business Council, to have them, I wouldn't say guilt corporations or businesses throughout Westchester or Mount Vernon in particular to pay a donation per se, but to have to really help shape a program that can be viable on its own. And perhaps that would require the use of the foundation for that matter. I believe trustee president Brian Johnson is working currently on that. I'd like to assist him if given the opportunity, if elected, but if not elected, in another capacity to help out. So those are two ideas that really stand out the most in my estimation. Trustee Ryan, would like to chime in?
As you had mentioned that our president of the board has been part of the foundation, which is a fundraising organization that came here for our open house, but they decided to be part of, and they are a collaboration with us as far as working with Friends and also. So the different events that are coming up as far as maybe a gala event, we've also been thinking out maybe there are certain people that have been in Mount Vernon, that have come through Mount Vernon as far as these doors, and have gone to other enterprises outside of New York, where they're in other states. Another way to do fundraising is to have some kind of event where the alum or the other former residents of Mount Vernon can come back as a type of reunion. So we can have a fundraising that way, where they can actually see where they grew up at. These doors that they came through when they were going through high school and college. There were certain people that studied here to become, like our particular president, a lawyer. The judge that swore us in also came through these same doors and looked into our legal library in order to study and go to law school. But when you contact people, like when they have a class reunion at the high school, we can have a reunion here at this library. We know there are many people that have gone outside of Mount Vernon, outside of New York, traveled across the country. They've started businesses, corporations. We need to bring them back here and ask them to help us out and make a donation, whatever the amount is. They always say when you go somewhere, you see who helped you, you come back and give back to your community. So this way you can say, you know what? I used to go to school here. I went to this library here. I remember walking through these doors. Because now they have on Facebook, when you lived in Mount Vernon, what do you remember? And everybody's remembering, oh, 4th Avenue, remember Clover Donut. So let's bring these people back here on a yearly basis, biannually. Let's see who can make it, who can't make it. Even if you say, you know what, let's have computers, let's do Facebook. What can you do? You want to make a donation? Do it on the website. Okay. But say, hey, that's me. I was here. Class of whatever. Class of 1970, 79, 82. I got to give something back. That's my hometown. And I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm in California, Anaheim. Doesn't matter where you are. Their roots started here. They spread it out there. So we have this networking that's going on a constant basis. And they can spread the word also that they need to get ready for the next year so we can meet, we can talk to each other, we can collaborate. Businesses, as you were saying, the different businesses, if it's here or outside of here, they can always make a donation some kind of way because that's what colleges do. And alums always want to know what's going on. We have publications that we can send out. Make a donation, you send it out. You don't make a donation, you're sending it out. You make a donation, you put your name in it. To say, okay, you want to be a friend? You want to be one of our patrons? Still, you're Mount Vernonite from the heart, of course. Put it here, put it in a book, send it out every year. We have a contact list of who was here, who lived here. So we keep updating that list. Make sure we stay in contact with everybody that came to these doors.
Excuse me, Madam Director. Rebecca, if I may, and I was remiss in not pointing out to your question on fundraising. Thank you, President,
Oh, sure.
and thank you, Tamara, as well, for your enlightening words. I agree wholeheartedly in their ideas, in addition to my own, but I would say also that fundraising is not done in a vacuum. And oftentimes, in my case, I've had to reach out to other successful enterprises or fundraising arms. In this particular case, what comes to mind exclusively is really the Boys Club and Girls Club in Mount Vernon. There has to be a Denzel Washington of the Mount Vernon Public Library, another poster child, so to speak.
Yes.
So I would be glad to be a part of that effort, along with my fellow admirers of the public library and presumptive trustee. So that's another aspect to be mindful of. Or even just not being afraid to pick up the phone or having some coffee with the New Rochelle Public Library when playing, reaching out to some of our peers as well to see what's working for you and having an exchange, an informal exchange of ideas as it pertains to fundraising. So looking at the numbers here and to your point about leanness, funding just doesn't grow on trees. Right? It's not like manna from heaven. We really have to continue to work it and perhaps employ even more creative devices. So, but thank you for your question.
There's one other fundraising idea that I would really like to work with our foundation to see if we can implement. As far as I'm aware, it's the only other Westchester library that's been done in this White Plains. But there's a company that's a nonprofit that has library mini golf events. And I think our building would be a wonderful, wonderful place. And they only do it in the colder months. So you have the combination of people who have been, everybody's got cabin fever because they're stuck inside. It says the company is headquartered, I believe they're in Connecticut. But they're here on the East Coast. They prefer to work with local libraries. There's like a lot of different ways that it can